Okay, so real quick, let me just show you what I did. These are all the people that I have you. Oh, guess who I'm interviewing after you?
I see Todd there.
Right after you.
Cool.
Yeah. I didn't even really put two and two together. I was like,
gosh, tell him hi for me.
I will.
Hi.
I just forgot because like you guys had put had done that contract.
Yeah.
That I left to go get married.
Right. It's weird because it's like I forget because I did 2 back to back, and they're both replacement contracts. Well, did I do them back to back? It can't have been. It must have been like I replaced you, and then did that last like 4 months, and then I feel like whoever replaced me, I then replaced them again. I don't know.
Well, I replaced you. That's when we first met.
Oh,
I replaced you on the Mississippi Queen.
Oh,
remember?
God.
When you left, did you know? I don't know if I must have told you this.
I'm mistaking everything. Because I was thinking you were on Princess.
I was.
Oh, geez. I don't know what's happening with life.
So yeah. So with
you replaced me on the Mississippi Queen first.
I replaced you on the Mississippi Queen first.
That's so great.
And right after you left, this whole norovirus thing happened. We were all over the news.
I think I remember that.
It was a nightmare. Everybody was sick. They were telling people not to tell the public, otherwise we'd get fired. Like, guests were telling other guests, don't go on the boat. Everyone got it. We ended up getting, the CDC came on and kicked everybody off for like a week. So I ended up getting a little vacation. It was crazy. And then I went right after that, I went straight to the Voyager, the Regent 7 Seas Voyager. And then immediately after that, like 2 weeks after that, I went on Princess. I went into rehearsals for the Princess contract, but I was getting married. So they already were hiring me knowing that I was only going to take on half of that contract. And then you were coming on to replace me. So then I left to go get married.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
We replaced each other.
So, but we never worked together. Well,
I know, isn't that weird? And it feels like we did. Like, that's what's weird about it. I feel like that we did work together.
I guess in rehearsals and handover, but
yeah.
Other than that, yeah, I mean, and then you came down to Florida and you got your headshots with the guy who did my headshot.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Those were my first headshots. I guess first headshots after I moved to New York.
Wow. And he did a great job on yours. I remember I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I used them for a while.
Yeah, they were really good
ones. Time, actually.
He ended up moving up north, like to the Midwest or something. So he told me, he's like,
Sean?
Huh?
Sean?
That is, that was his name.
Yeah.
He did my headshots twice. I can't.
Yeah, he was good. I liked him a lot.
Nice guy.
Sitting in like the empty garage or something.
Yeah. He did one, he's like, with one of mine, he did mine twice. And there was this one that he did in a laundry room on a marina with like a really old Florida style apartment complex on this like marina in a laundry room with a bunch of but the light was really good in there. He's like, don't worry about it. I know it's just a laundry room, but I've done my research. This is good. And they came out.
No joke. It's true. I hate taking headshots.
He did one of yours, I remember.
I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't like taking headshots.
Oh, I hate it.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Always.
I haven't taken my headshots since my last time.
I still use mine. The one that I sent you. I hope I still look like that.
You look exactly the same.
Okay, good. Like, you can never trust yourself when you take them. You gotta trust your friends to be honest about it.
Yeah.
But because that's, the most important thing. You want to look like your picture, and there's a lot of people who don't look like their picture. It's like either
on the dating sites.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh my God.
I think when I was on dating sites, like I would pass over ones that were a headshot because I was like, I could pinpoint headshots. I was like, nope. No.
You know what's
Nope.
funny about that? I'm actually on a dating, it's like a women's group, more for like just getting more in touch with your femininity is what the group is more about. It's a great group. I'll invite you to the free group if you want. It's
Yeah.
called High Value Women. It's wonderful.
Cool. Let me know about it.
Yeah. And it started out as kind of like dating coaching, and it is, but there's so many women on there who are married actually. And it's just about connecting with your inner feminine and how to, the inner feminine in us really is wanting to connect with a masculine man, naturally, like biologically. I'm not saying that's true for everybody, but naturally.
But it's sort of like you want to, especially when you are, because I think we have masculine and feminine.
We do.
Like all genders have masculine and feminine energy. And so it's like, if you do tap more into that feminine, I feel like you probably want to balance it with a little masculine, which not always the case. Like, who am I to say what it is or not? But but that's the thing. One of the things about being in New York is that what I've realized is that it's very masculine energy here. Like, because it's just this like go, go, go kind of like fight or flight kind of thing, which is like everybody thinks New York is like all full of rude people. And it's not.
It's just busy.
No, everybody's just busy. Everybody has an agenda. Everybody moved here to achieve something. And so there's just this masculine energy of drive. Just it pushes people forward and literally into each other. And so
it's true. It's true.
It is. And so that's something that I realized, like, living here, you can, people are always like, get a tough skin, and you have to have that, especially when, you're trying to pursue this career. You do have to have a thick skin, but it doesn't mean that, you have, it's the difference between having a thick skin and like allowing yourself to feel all that stuff and letting go of it versus like suppressing it or pretending it didn't happen.
Right.
And that's part of that feminine energy, is the softer side. Like
absolutely. You're nailing it. You're
I love
100% nailing it.
I would absolutely be in this group.
Yeah, this one's the awesome. One. The other one that I actually pay to be in it. Excuse me. Let me grab some water real quick. But it's all about that, the yin yang, and how, we embody the feminine, but there has to be a little bit of masculine, but it's a matter of healthy masculine that gives us the drive versus our healthy feminine, which is our natural tendencies. And then the shadow masculine sides of us, where we get very reactive and angry and, or the shadow feminine side of us too. And both men and women have both of these things. Yep. And it's how to recognize the shadow side that, can create havoc in our lives. So it's really good stuff.
Yeah,
I'll invite you to it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That would be something that I would definitely be into, because it's like, I think we all need to have a balance of the two.
Yeah.
And allow some of that to come out. Because I know for me, like, I definitely, like, growing up, it was I grew up with very, very masculine energy. And so, it was never like, it wasn't like, I was told like, you can't feel, but most of the time what I was feeling was considered like there was, something was wrong with me, kind of thing. Like, how kids are told they're being bad or rebellious or things like that. Looking back on that, I've learned that there's a reason for it. It's not just they're being, rebellious or anything just to be rebellious. They're looking for something else. And so it definitely was like just this masculine, like, like toughen up kind of like attitude that I grew up with, which has given me the drive, I think, and has helped me in a lot of ways to achieve what I've wanted to achieve and things like that thus far. But I realized I needed to balance some of that out.
Definitely. I grew up in New York City,
Oh
And my
yeah.
mother worked in Manhattan, and she's, tough cookie. She really is. Even now, she's 70, and I'm not like that, but
Hmm.
I am very much independent and a go-getter. And I guess I learned that from living there, or maybe being her daughter, and she's a single mom in New York City.
Yeah.
And yet I felt this pull for femininity, and I would want to do my hair and my makeup, and I was like into clothes. And she's like, why do you need to put on makeup? Why do you want to do your hair? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, because it feels good.
Right, exactly. You're like, what's wrong with that?
And I mean, in a way, I was kind of rebelling against the masculine,
Right.
wanting to get more in touch with my feminine. And I
Hmm.
really felt like going into singing, that was for me personally probably a dream come true,
Yeah.
because now I could be the more feminine side.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it's especially like, I mean, it brings up something to me that's like with singing, it is very feminine, especially when it comes to acting too. You have to be vulnerable. You
Mhm.
have to allow yourself to feel. And I mean, believe it or not, it's like that kind of throughout like my life that's ebbed and flowed. And I think it's usually tied to when I forget why I got into it in the first place and why I love it. Because I really feel like it starts out that way, and you're expressing yourself, and that's why I felt so great on stage, is because my like regular life didn't really allow that, and so when I was on stage, I got to fully do that, and
Exactly.
have these amazing arcs and everything like that, um, and then the more that I got into the business side of it, because it's weird, because it's this weird thing that you want to you have to learn the business side of it. It's important.
So
You
hard for
have
us
to
as
know the
artists.
process. Yeah, you have to know the process, like just so you can understand what's happening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I found that if I focus too much on that, if I focus too much on a destination and like a goal and whatever that is, I started forgetting like the joy of it. Again, it became this masculine, like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And it was harder for me to just be present where I was and really embrace where I was, because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is going to end soon. So I should be thinking about the next thing.
Yeah.
And so it's a good reminder for me anyway, to always remember where you came from and like why you wanted to do it in the first place.
Exactly. And I totally get that, but getting to perform as a woman in the arts, having to deal with all of the masculine stuff of business and standing up for yourself, and we have to deal sometimes with sexual predators too.
Yep.
And those kinds of things is where we have to draw on our healthy masculine
Yeah.
to defend ourselves and to stand up for ourselves, and to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get to perform, that's when we get to relax into our feminine and
Yeah.
really get to feel the giving part of being an entertainer and being on
Right.
stage and sharing our most vulnerable side
Mm-hmm.
of us, which is our feminine.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think that's why I have done it for so long, is because once I have that job and once my favorite part is being in rehearsals, and especially when I'm in a team, a creative team, and the cast and everything like that, when everybody really just respects each other and admires each other, and just wants to collaborate. And I mean, for me, it's kind of the only way you can do something. If you want to succeed at it and make it the best that it can be.
Yep.
And that's probably been the best times for me, is when I've had those experiences, because you feel valued, you feel essentially full, because here you are, everybody's like wanting to collaborate and bounce ideas off each other. You're not afraid to make bold choices. You're not afraid to express yourself completely and fully, knowing that you have the support of other people. And that is something that can be really hard in this business, because essentially it's competitive.
Yeah, there's a
And a lot of people compare each other. Oh man, I'm the worst. I would like to say that I've gotten better at it. I think I have gotten better at it, but I still compare myself to people. You know, it's hard not to.
Yeah.
But it's almost like if you can get past that, I realize that it's usually mostly my own ego and my own insecurity, like making me feel like, and usually it's not like, oh, I'm better than that person. It's more like, oh gosh, I don't belong here.
I know what you mean.
And so and I'm just like, okay. And that happened to me at the concert in California. So I did that. We weren't recording at that point, but
Oh, yeah.
I did this concert in California. It was the first time that I got to perform during this whole pandemic, and going out there and practicing with people. And one of them was a good friend of mine, but a couple people I didn't know. And they're incredible. I mean, just everybody's incredible. And here I found myself not trusting myself and like what I bring to the table, and essentially comparing myself in a bad way for me, that isn't allowing me to just be open and vulnerable and do what I do.
And to grow.
And one of the, for our first performance, we were doing a sound check, and it was neat because, here I was feeling that way. And our music director is sitting across the way from me, and he just knew. He looked at me because I was being quiet, because here I am, I'm trying to process all of these things that I'm feeling, and like the same trying, like knowing, rationalizing, I know why I'm feeling this way, don't feel this way, like, but you can't help it because it's like in here.
Yeah.
And he looks at me like, oh yeah, it's like all just, and here I am just sitting there silently because it's all like a tornado in there.
Yeah.
And he just looks at me, he's like, how you doing? And it's all I needed. And I just like told him exactly, I was like, this is the time to be vulnerable and to just let somebody in, and not be afraid to show that you have a flaw, or you're insecure, or you're nervous, or anything like that. Like, it's important to show that because it's real and it's honest. And it's the only way to get past it. I feel like the only way to get past nerves is to acknowledge that you are nervous.
And being able to recognize it, that's a skill in and of itself too. Is, I think a lot of times, especially with younger singers, people who are just breaking into the business, they have so much jealousy and so much comparison to other people. I remember being on an audition in New York. I don't even remember what it was for, but it was a, cattle call audition. And I was with a couple people. You get to know people, sitting there for hours and hours as you're preparing to go in for your, 5-minute, 10-minute audition.
Right.
And I had my little bag with me with my dance shoes and my books and all the stuff. Talking to people, I'm like, oh, I guess it's my time. I'm going to go in now. I didn't need my dance shoes. So I kind of said, do you mind just watching my bag for me? I can't obviously take it in with me. Like, we kind of all did that, right? Watched each other's stuff. Come back from my audition. Don't even remember if I got a call back. And my shoes were gone. Gone. I had extra ones, thankfully. But I just thought, it kind of feels terrible when you think to yourself, did a person need my shoes, or were they trying to sabotage me? Mm-hmm. So in that moment, I looked and I said, I didn't need those shoes. The other person needed them more than I did. And it was a resolution that I would never be that kind of person who would want to get back at that person for taking my shoes, whether it was intentional sabotage or they just really needed a pair of dance shoes. Like, I just chalked it up to, I guess they needed them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and in the back of my mind, I still thought, gosh, this is such a competitive business that somebody would just take someone's dance shoes out of their bag,
Wow.
you know?
Well, and it's interesting because I think one of my theories is that, because again, one of the lifelong things that I've, and not so much now, but because I'm aware of it and I try to get past that kind of thing, is trying to figure out what, you know, the people want. You know, so I think that's a lot about comparison too, is like you're looking around at everybody else and maybe you all look alike. Maybe you're the different one or something like that. But every time I would go into an audition room, I would, it's almost like this, and this was a long time ago. I had just, I'll never forget it because I had booked my first national tour. It was non-equity national tour of Pajama Game. And so I had gone in and, you know, next thing I know, I booked it and everything. And so now I'm in rehearsals and he was in-house casting director. His name is Mark. And Mark was sitting with me at some break during rehearsal. And he's like, Crystal, he's like, I'm glad you are the way that you are. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, when you first auditioned, I was like, oh, this girl is going to be afraid to break a nail. Like, because I was just like being pleasant and like probably higher pitched voice and like just trying to be what I thought. And I didn't even know I was doing it. It just happened. But I was trying to be what I thought they wanted me to be. I was trying to be likable. I was trying to, you know, I wanted the job. And so I was just, you know, trying to figure out like, okay, well, you know, if I'm the nicest or if I'm, you know, pleasant to get along with, then they'll hire me. And thankfully they hired me anyway. But what he said really stuck with me. And I didn't, and like you, I vowed that, you know, as much as possible, I was going to try not to do that and really just try to be myself. And one of the ways that I ended up, and I still do it sometimes, is when I get nervous before going to an audition, I start making faces at people behind their backs because it just makes me laugh. I don't know when I started doing that, but I was like, every time I would do it, I would just start laughing. And it was, I don't know what it was. When I laughed, it just settled me.
Oh, yeah.
And it made me just come back into how I like truly felt, you know, and just like grounded me so that I could go in and do what I do. And it's just those little things that kind of whatever's going to help you, you know, make you feel like yourself before walking into a room.
And that's a big part of it. You know, I think a lot of times people get the wrong impression of performers as we're always performing. You know, we're always being somebody else.
Right.
When really it's kind of the opposite. We need to be ourselves and be authentic. Yeah. In order to portray a role, because the casting directors need to see how you as Crystal can play the role.
Right.
Not can you kind of, you know, fit the square peg into the round hole kind of thing, but does your square peg fit into their square peg?
Mm-hmm. You know? Well, it's a lot of, you know, I've heard many actors say this, and it's, you know, instead of it being like, oh, everybody says that, everybody says it because it's true.
Right.
And you kind of have learned it through experience, you know, like that every single person is unique. I could look like this blonde over here, but they're not going to have the same personality as me.
Exactly.
And so, and it is hard to, you know, everybody's like, well, be you. You just have to be yourself. It's harder than, you know, you think.
It really is.
Because there's all these elements that come into play. Is you want the job and you want to be liked and you want to fit in and, you know, you want to do a good job and everything like that. But if you can really just tap into, there's no one way to play this character. There's no one choice to make. It's almost like you have to, like you're saying, you incorporate your life into that audition, into that role. Because it's, what is it? I always get it mixed up. Is it art imitates life or life imitates art?
It's both.
Something like that.
It's the saying, it goes both ways.
Yeah, right. There you go. But it's true, you know, and most of the time that I've, you know, booked a job, it's because I just was relaxed and I was just feeling.
That's exactly right. You know, I have to say that this conversation right here, even though we haven't technically gotten into the interview part of it, is going to be, I think I would love to just have this like a standalone conversation.
Yeah, sure.
You know, because that right there is so valuable to understanding themselves, you know, young singers, and understanding how to really dig deep and get in touch with themselves, to get in touch with themselves while honing a skill at the same time.
And I feel like the sooner that you can do that, the more you will achieve your goals, because a lot of people can fake it, but you can only fake it for so long. And it's like, sooner that you are authentic and just balls to the walls, just showing your true self, like you could fall flat on your face, you could make mistakes, but they're just mistakes. My parents had the saying growing up, there are no mistakes, only stepping stones. And so it really is. It's just, you know what? I fumbled a little bit here. Okay, it's fine. On to the next thing.
Love that.
And it's hard because, you know, you want the job.
Yeah.
So you have this attachment to, you know, wanting to do well and having that kind of goal in the back of your mind. And the hardest people that, like, we're the hardest on ourselves. So until we can get like to the faster that you can get to a point where you're not that, where you can just be like, that really sucked. All right, moving on.
But own it. Own the suck.
Exactly. Own the suck and be like, cool.
Yeah. Well, you do. I mean, you know, and that's one of the best parts about being a performer, is that you really learn how to own the suck in front of a lot of people.
Oh my gosh, so much. I have owned the suck many times.